number of years in California at running a hotel, and I must say one of the best things about it was my involvement in the community. It made my enjoyment of that city so much, and I went on to be a more of a global corporate executive for a number of years in the hotel business, and I really didn't have that sense of community at all. And actually, I retired kind of after 10 years with Intercontinental Hotels. I was their Chief Operating Officer for the Americas, so I ran 27 countries, 5,000 hotels, 85,000 employees, so I had a pretty big job, and I thought it was time to quit. And I decided to try another venture just for fun, and I ran a small cruise line that did expedition tourism to the Arctics and Alaska, did whale watching along the California coast and Galapagos, and it was called National Geographic Expeditions. It was a fun job I had for a little while, and then I tried to retire again, and I realized I wasn't so great at golf, and but I really wanted to be, and so I kept working harder and harder, and I found out that retirement was more stressful and frustrating than working, so my wife encouraged me to think about going back to work, but think about it in a different way, and the different way was think about when you were happiest in your career, and what made you happy, because you know you're done kind of trying to be a big deal in the office and all that. And I thought what I really loved in my career is when I was a part of a community. And so when I came to Charlotte to take this job as CEO of the Charlotte Regional Visit Authority, the thing that attracted me the most was that Charlotte was such an attractive community. I wanted to become part of it, and this job allows me to kind of do that. This job is interesting. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of the Charlotte Regional Visit Authority, but my role is kind of Chief Tourism Officer, and we run a number of buildings for the city. Our edict is to run any building that the city owns that has anything to do with tourism or sports, and so we run the convention center, we run Time Warner Capel Arena. My assistant here keeps making sure I say that right. You never know how you can offend somebody by just using one word in your title, but you can. We run the NASCAR Hall of Fame. We run Bojangles Arena and Evans Auditorium, and we run the marketing arm for the city, so for tourism. So we run what's called Visit Charlotte. Good, next slide, yeah. And so we have what we call our CRVA world, and when I got here, the organization was in a bit of turmoil, and one of the things that I found that needed to be done is we needed to take a real hard look about how we were organized. And like any government, we're kind of quasi-government organization. There are all kinds of inefficiencies and structural issues with them, and I've never worked in that kind of environment, so me, I just wanted to come quick and fix it. But there are a lot of reasons why things are the way, and most of them are just historical legacies. But our organization was kind of stuck in this structure that was not working very well, and a lot of people call them silos. We have these 6 different businesses that we run down in the bottom of this chart that all kind of have their own structures, their own organizations, and they were very good about protecting themselves from each other. And so when I came here, I tried to paint a picture of what I thought we wanted them to do. And one thing I've learned in my career as an executive always is that people are very visual. And I wanted them to understand what our new organization was going to look like. And I got to this guy in the graphic arts department and said, let me tell you what I'm trying to create. And he drew it for me. So we call this our One CRVA world now. And it is part of our everyday discussion. I was just in a meeting with the advisory board for the NASCAR Hall of Fame before I came here. I had about 7 or 8 speakers that came out, and they all described the One CRVA world as part of their normal conversation. I thought I was pretty proud that we were kind of getting to them. But what we say about One CRVA world is that we take all our core competencies and we integrate them. So our core competencies are sales and marketing, governance and operations, and we integrate them across all our businesses. And so that's what we've been working on for the last 8 months, and now we're starting to work on a new strategic approach. But in the meantime, the team has been doing a great job helping this industry do well. And look at the next slide, Mariel. It's interesting. that the economy has been pretty rough, but the hotel industry, which is the industry that funds us, the hotels and restaurants fund our organization, they have actually had a pretty good run. And as you can see, our organization is funded from taxes that are hotel taxes, food and beverage taxes, 1% on all the food and beverage, and on the NASCAR Hall of Fame, that's funded by a 2% tax on all the hotels. So the hotels like to say they voluntarily allow themselves to be taxed to fund this. The city likes to think that they're just happy to be a vehicle for tax collection to the city, so there's always a little bit of a balancing act there. But so you can see the tax collections are going pretty good despite the bad economy. We're at 35 million for the NASCAR fund. Go ahead, Mario. We're at 23 million from 21 million for food and beverage tax. And from the combined vehicle rental drive-in tax collections, we're up from 13.5 to 14.9. So things are starting to look pretty good in the hotel industry. I don't know if anybody in here is in the hotel industry, but the hotel industry, you know, we like to think about the good old days as 2007, 2008, before things all started to go crazy around here. And we just all kind of begged that we could get back there someday, right? And we really didn't think it was going to be close, because the rest of you read the news and watch the rest of the economy, it seems like it's not going very well. But as you can see, our average rates are now at the highest level they've been since back to the 2007-8. Our occupancies are very close to where they were in 2007. And what we call is the combination of the two, the RevPAR, which is the really important number that people that are financing hotels or and the banks look at, and it's $59.56. So it's the revenue available per available room, and that is the highest it's ever been in the history of this region. So the hotel industry has recovered, which is, I thought you might find interesting, because you wouldn't ever think about that if you watch the news every night. So that's kind of the good news story. And I was just at the HTA meeting last night speaking, and there were a lot of smiling faces at that meeting when they saw these numbers. Next slide, Mario. So to add to that, so F&B taxes are up 11%, car rental up 10%, occupancy up 4%, ADR up 6%, RevPAR up 10%. So we've had 30 consecutive months of occupancy improvements, 32 consecutive months of demand improvements, 24 consecutive months of ADR improvements, and 29 consecutive months of RevPAR improvements. So certainly a healthy industry right now, and probably means that banks will start lending soon to new construction and hotels. And the hotel industry is kind of funny. I used to be in charge of real estate too. We can't build when the fundamentals aren't very good, but as soon as they start getting good, we build so fast and so much that we ruin the fundamentals again, and then we have to stop building again. It's a very interesting industry. So they're getting ready to do that again. And you know, as much as we talk about it and say, don't do that again, every cycle we do it again. So we can't help ourselves in the hotel industry. Next slide, Mario. I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about DNC, because it's kind of all DNC every day around our parts. And we have a pretty major role in servicing the DNC clients. At the Time Warner Cable Arena, we are the people, we run the back of the house for them, so we do all the setup and tear down, and or have the electricians. Now they've brought in third-party folks to come and manage the construction of the site, but they are, as I'll tell you in a minute, they're busy tearing things down. So so there's 22 days, is that right? Did you update that, or is it 21 today? 21 days till the convention, so it's starting to get scary. The guy that runs the Democratic National Convention Committee has actually a clock on a countdown clock in his office, and he goes by the seconds. So I go by the days. I'm not that worried about it, but we're full pitch. So I'll give you a little bit of the briefing that all the executives on my team gave the board yesterday, or Wednesday actually. So Jeff Mann is a guy that was our only expert in conventions. He actually was at the Boston convention, so he's given us a little briefing here. So at the convention, at the arena, we've had given the unlimited access period since July 14. The DNC now controls the venue, so we actually had a ceremony, gave them the keys to the venue, and they have that until September 26th. And the facility is being torn down and gutted, really. All the suites that are over there, they're removing everything in all the suites. They're putting up white walls and making media studios out of it. It's really quite interesting. And we got business coming in the next week, so we've got to rebuild it again after it's all over with. So it's going to be quite interesting. But construction's in full swing. There's people everywhere tearing things apart. Security's not quite as tight over there yet, but people do have to be credentialed to get in, and it's going to start beefing up. And outside, we're doing a lot of work as well. There's, I don't know if you saw the announcements yesterday. There are lane closures and street closures all around all of these facilities, and it's going to be a little difficult to drive in town around the convention center, around the arena, all that little corridor. You'll still be able to get in town. The city wants you to know that we're open to the public, and we want you to come visit, but walking would probably be better than driving, and light rail would probably be great. Use of getting in and out. So anyway, next slide, Mariel. And so over at the convention center, we are the big media center, the convention center. We have about 15,000 members of the media that are going to be in the city for the convention. About 6,000 at a time are going to be held up in our exhibit center. We have 280,000 square feet of exhibit space, I think it's Mariel. Yeah. And so we are now under construction building offices basically for them to use as their media center. And we've got to figure out how to feed those folks every day, 3 meals a day. And this is really like a 24-hour-a-day operation. So that's the big change for us as an organization. We do conventions all the time, but we don't typically do conventions 24 hours a day. And so it really requires people either to work themselves to death or figure out how to bring in some extra help, and so we decided to work people to death instead. So, and up on the meeting room level, we're doing lots of caucuses and receptions, and they're moving dates on the 15th and 17th. You can imagine the kinds of things we worry about. All these people are going to use all this technology. They're going to need bandwidth, and it's, there's a big battle for who's using what, and you probably notice around the city, there are temporary, what they call cows being put up, which are big additional boosters or antennas to make sure that everybody's telephone works. AT&T is one of the big sponsors of the Democratic National Convention, and so they have installed a temporary antenna system all the way through our facilities so that everybody in here will get the right coverage, we hope, because it's so complex, because we've never had all this kind of activity happening at once. Even people, I was with somebody with Time Warner Cable last night, and they were talking about what they're worried about is everybody's going to go work from home that works downtown at the banks. So they're all going to be trying to get in on their computers from home where they're normally on a corporate network. And so just all that demand may cause things to be a little different. So it's going to be kind of interesting. Next one, Mary. And then our Crown Ballroom, we will have, I think the number is somewhere around 14,000 volunteers. I don't know if any of you folks have signed up to be volunteers for the convention, but we clearly want, the eyes of the world, we say, are going to be on Charlotte. The reason why we wanted these folks to come here is we wanted the rest of the world to see what a fabulous place Charlotte was, and hopefully get visitors to come back again. Our big message out there is, welcome, but come back, and come back with your families, or bring your corporate meetings, or move your corporation here. It wouldn't be too bad either if you want to, although the last couple of CEOs have had challenges with that, so, everybody got that, that's good. As the convention ends on the 6th, there's one last meeting on the 7th, and I'm told that's a fun party, everybody kind of celebrating if all things went well. And then they're moving out, and we're moving the next group in. So, people say, are you guys ready for this? And my response is, this is what we do every day, and kind of wink, because it's probably more than we do every day. And the big issues are really the security and being able to get things and move in and out. We have to do deliveries in the middle of the night. All of our trucks have to be inspected before we bring them in. You can imagine you have to think about how you're going to refrigerate all that food for all those people and have limited truck deliveries. So, and our loading dock down below, we've got all these refrigerator trucks acting as extra storage. And so it's going to be pretty exciting for us to see how it all works. But the thing that kind of, I guess, what worries me is I don't know what I don't know. And that is, you really don't know how the protesters are going to behave. You don't know what kind of issues are going to be involved in that. But I think the city, you should be proud of your city. As a newcomer to the city, one thing I recognize is we are all working together, and we all kind of have the same mission to present the city in a way that can make all of our citizens really proud. It's going to be a little discomforting for the citizens, but I think at the end it will be really healthy for us. A lot of people are going to make money during the convention, but I think to a greater extent it's a lot about just marketing our city the right way. And when you have 15,000 people in the media for sitting in your offices for a week or two, trying to think of things to write, and they want to write about our city, we want to make sure that they have the right stuff. Next slide, Miriam. At the Hall of Fame, we have about 12 bookings or so now that we're going to have, and it's the Hall of Fame was the #1 sought-after venue for events during the convention. We'll go from one event right to another, tear down, clean up, close and kick everybody out, and bring a new group in. So that has been one of the real big successes for the Hall of Fame, was that people love having special events at the Hall of Fame, and we've had real big success. We do something like 260 events this year at the Hall of Fame, and really has been great for us from an amenity to sell conventions against. It's a really special place, and people like to do something unique with the conventionaires when they come in. Next one, Miriam. I think we can go on. So the other things that are happening, one more back.
Sorry.
Was, I think you may have heard that we were going to be up at the Speedway, and I think they decided that was a logistics nightmare for us, and we decided to do another festival downtown, kind of like Speed Week, but this one really promoting the city, and the city's been working hard at trying to figure out how to put our personality, the city's personality on it, and so during the Carolina Fest, we're going to have half-price tickets. I read something today that they're really trying to encourage our locals to come to Carolina Fest as well. We want the locals to be here with the visitors and talk about the city, and we also want you to see what's going on. So we're trying very hard to make sure that this is, as the Democrats call it, the People's Convention, and they really want to make sure that people feel it's very welcome. Normally we would have closed off the convention center to the public. You can get the convention center if you want. You just have to go on the website and put your name in ahead of time, and you can get in. They've just announced that they're opening up the stadium to anybody that wants to get into the stadium to listen to Thursday night's event where President Obama will accept his nomination. So the thought is that this is really about us and us showing off our city. We really want folks to be participants in it. So we're going to try to be open for some typical Hall of Fame customers to go in and see the hall as a regular customer, but the hours are going to be fairly limited because we're used Tuesday and Wednesday is going to be closed to the public. It'll just be for private events, but Monday and Thursday we will be open some hours. Okay. And we have an interesting event. We have ovens at Bojangles, and we gave those facilities all over to the host committee. The host committee went out and tried to book all of the facilities, and they did that in a way to raise money. But they came back with no events for Bojangles and ovens, so we booked one. And when they told me what they booked, I got really nervous, thinking this was going to make a lot of people angry in the city. But we have a convention in there called Rock the Red, which is the Republicans' counter convention to the Democrats' convention. So it should be kind of interesting. They got lots of singers coming in and famous artists. Now I thought, oh, this is going to be this is going to be the end of my career. I've only been here 8 months, but turns out this is something that happens at every convention, and the Democrats are doing it down in Tampa as well. So it's, I think it should be exciting and newsworthy. And then we have a kind of an urban concert going on at the exact same time over at the Evans Auditorium. So we have kind of Republicans and country western, and then we got an urban concert, and they're all sharing the same parking lot. So it could be a lot of fun. And we're trying to book some other events, but as you probably heard, everybody that tries to book an event with us is saying, I can't get rooms. So hotel rooms are hard to find these days, and a courtyard goes for $499 a night now if there's a room available. So it's tough to find rooms even for, you know, good friends. And I just tell people I have no access to rooms and I have no access to tickets. So it makes them stop asking me. Excellent. And then a little bit on the marketing side. So Visit Charlotte is our sales folks. They go on next one, please. They sell conventions to come into our town, like the DNC, like we just had the Shriners here, just had the physicist here, at AME Zion, and it's just fun to be in this business because every group has their own personality. You know, it's just interesting. The physicist, we thought, well, these guys are never going to go to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. We had like huge attendance in the Hall of Fame from this physicist. We couldn't figure it out. You know, the Shriners loved it. The AME Zion people didn't go in it. They were too busy, I guess, in their meetings. And so it's all kind of interesting. What personality each group has. They all kind of look the same. You know, it's very interesting. But we've been doing a lot of briefings for the city as well, and we got briefings to come on making sure that everybody in our industry, the hospitality industry, is ready to go and knows what's happening. And we're also going out to the region because we are a regional business authority, so we support Rock Hill, Gastonia, and those other regions to make sure that they know what's going on in their marketplace too. We also work closely with the airport to try to make sure that those visitors that are there are welcomed appropriately, and we actually run the information center at the airport as well. So we actually sell their advertising out there for right now, so it's kind of interesting. Okay. And so, I mean, our big push is to get people into the visitor centers and make sure that we're welcoming the delegates and make sure that the volunteers know what they're talking about when they're welcoming the delegates. And then the last piece that I want to talk about quickly was Charlotte's Got a Lot, which is our marketing message, our brand, we call it, for Charlotte. And we're trying to make sure that everybody understands that. And our mission is to enhance Charlotte's image and presence nationwide, to elevate Charlotte's awareness as a premier destination for meetings, groups, tours, leisure visits, and more, share our vision and expand on our involvement in making Charlotte the destination of choice, and get the DNC attendees to come back. So that's our real goal. And there are a lot of people out there trying to get other goals out there, but ours is really about getting visitors to come back. And as you may know already, but tourism in this community is really, really important. $4 billion last year in Mecklenburg County generated through tourism. 43,000 jobs. How much was it? 200 million in state taxes and 100 million in local taxes generated by the tourism industry. So it is a big economic engine for us. We also are the producers of the official visitors guide. Guess what? There are a lot of unofficial visitors guides. So a lot of people are trying to do the same thing, but ours is the official one that will be in the hands of every delegate. And we are pitching stories to the media. So when somebody says, tell me something I can write about, we introduce them to our wineries, or we talk to them about our Whitewater Center, or we show them the NASCAR Hall of Fame every time, you know, make sure that they hear about that. And so that's, our team has written stories already. Journalists like they like it if you make it easy for them, so we've written a lot of stories for people to use and pitches, and we're trying to set that up in that area where all the journalists will be, my media folks will be there, and they will be walking around making sure people are telling the stories that we want them to tell. And so that's about it for that slide, I guess. So yeah, yesterday I was giving another speech, and the guy says, we're not a town hall meeting, we don't take questions afterwards, but here we will take questions. So, any questions at all? Yes, sir.
Is there rental on the Time Warner, and if so, who gets the money, the city or Michael?
Yes, there is rental on the Time Warner, and the money goes to the Bobcats. So just like any other rental, but they rent out for a concert or those kinds of things. What our role at Time Warner is, we do all the services and they pay us back dollar for dollar at our cost. And it's the way that operates. At the convention center, you may see in the paper that we waived all room rentals, so the convention center was given to them for free, and people have talked about that as being probably not the right thing, but we will make millions in food and beverage that we serve to them. So, and that is exactly what we do for all conventions of that size. If you bring a convention that's going to bring that volume of rooms into the marketplace, you would normally get the convention center for free. Yes, ma'am?
You said you brought, people brought in to reconfigure the convention center?
Mm-hmm. Time Warner? Yeah, and the convention center as well.
Who are they? Where do they come from? And why aren't these locals?
The name of the company is Hargrove, and they are hiring a lot of local subcontractors. I got to give the DNCC and the host committee credit. They have really tried to be very careful about how they're doing their hiring, making sure they've got a requirement of 30% of their spend must go to minority and diverse vendors. And so they've worked very hard on that, and their preference is to go local, and they have done a lot of local. To some extent that makes us nervous because some of our local companies have never done something this big, but they've really made an effort to try to do that. So I don't know if you read in the paper that wasn't the case, but there is been stuff in the paper that the Democratic Party favors union labor, and that's true, and they've been very clear about that. They're one of their major constituents, and they would prefer to have union labor if they can get it. We're a right-to-work state, as you all know, and so there wasn't a lot of union labor available for them. But where they could, they have, and I assume some of the construction guys resemble that, and certainly AT&T is largely unionized, and so that's one of the reasons why they're in there as well. So, but it's their convention, they're our customer, and we encourage them to enjoy our community. I think what I told them is, the thing that I got when I got here is that this community is hugely capable, and people don't understand that because most of the communities that I've been to aren't this capable, and so but you got to let the community show you, and I think that's a lesson I learned, and I think they seem to be doing better than anybody else I've ever seen in trying to make sure that the locals were used. Yes, sir.
So at this point, it's sort of the hay is in the barn. You know, preparation's been done, it's almost here, but 21 days ago, if someone's inspired to get involved and either inspired by what you said or see it in the paper, are there still things that people can do if they want to get engaged with this?
Yeah, you can go to the DNCC website or the host committee website and sign up with volunteers. I think they're still taking them. But also just enjoy it, they say. I mean, certainly on Monday, the Charlotte Fest, come down and see what's happening. There's going to be lots of fun activities and concerts, and so certainly enjoy that. And if you see visitors, you know, my ask to you is, you know, this is our home, welcome them. And, you know, the one thing that I think is, we try to sell out there, and I think it's genuine, is that we deliver this Southern hospitality that is different than others do. And when I got here, I said, well, really, is that a good way to market ourselves, Southern hospitality? And they said, yeah, it really is. And I said, well, help me understand what Southern hospitality is. And they said to me, we changed our mission statement to say this, caring, genuine service. And so that's really what we expect that our attendees will feel from our community, and I'm sure that they will. You know, we talked about, you know, I know there are Republicans in this room, and there's probably Democrats in this room. You know, this is, for us, in this time period, Charlotte's not red or blue. This convention is about green, right? And, you know, we're trying to make some money on this, and we're trying to make our community better. In a large part, you know, all the things that this community has put up with and done over the years is the reason why we're here. We would have never gotten the Democratic National Convention if we didn't have the Time Warner Arena. We, you know, things like the amenities like all of Time Warner Cable Arena, right? Sorry. You know, we have the football stadium here that helps attract the convention, the hotels and the convention center, all the things that we've invested in all the years prior to this really made us ready for it, and it's quite an impressive city. For being an outsider, you know, I was really, when I got here, I was just knocked over about how great the amenity package is and what a great convention town this is. So, any other questions? That good, Richard?
Yes.
Thank you.